Dying Light the Beast has been out for quite some time now, and I am really enjoying it. And as a big fan of both Dying Light 2 and Dying Light the Beast, I made a video a couple weeks ago on the things that Dying Light 2 did better than Dying Light the Beast in my opinion, and I had a pretty insane comment to like ratio, more than I've ever had on any other video. So I appreciate all you guys for sharing your comments and your opinions, but this time we're doing the top 10 things that Dying Light the Beast did better than Dying Light 2 in my opinion. The first thing I got on the list is the melee combat. Although not being too mechanically different, it is much more satisfying. The ragdolls are a lot more reactive. Dying Light 2 has had an upgrade to its ragdoll physics, and it's still not as good as Dying Light the Beast. And in my opinion, Dying Light the Beast is on par with Dying Light 1's ragdoll physics. It's just super satisfying. And human combat is better in this game than it was in Dying Light 2. Not as big of an update as Dying Light 2 was compared to Dying Light 1. But it was a step up, like a way more polished version of Dying Light 2's combat system, with the human enemies being a lot less predictable, and they dodge a lot more, and a way higher a variety of animations instead of just heavy attack, light attack, heavy attack, dodge, weave. The human enemies in this game, the animations look lifelike, and they have way more variety, and they just flow together very nicely. And this combat, especially against spiders, is just so reminiscent of Dying Light 1, and I love it. I live for it. It's beautiful. The next thing we got on our list can be seen as a negative, but for most of us it was a positive, because if you played Dying Light 2, especially in the early days, the parkour was not very great, and you had to unlock most of the skill tree for the parkour to even be fun, especially with the way the map was built. You needed majority of the parkour skills. And in Dying Light the Beast, the parkour system is very similar, although not identical. You have most of the skills unlocked at the start, which is great. It doesn't bottleneck your parkour experience and make you lose interest from the start like it did for a lot of Dying Light 2 players, but most of the skills ain't as overpowered as they were in Dying Light 2. They're a lot more grounded and realistic, which a lot of people did like, and it's built better for this map, and it allows the map to have much more of a natural looking structures. The only small downside that I'd say that Dying Light the Beast having auto unlock skills is that you really don't have too much of a grind. The game is already pretty short, so you really wouldn't need that large of a skill tree, but still I like the grind in some games and some people don't, and that completely makes sense. The parkour combat skills flow much nicer in Dying Light the Beast, I've noticed. Dying Light 2 is a bit clunky in comparison, but not outdated, just definitely not as polished. The next one I got is the side missions. They are an absolute improvement on the first two games. Although there isn't that many in Dying Light the Beast, they are all extremely high quality, with most of them featuring a very compelling side story or side plot that reels you in and adds to the lore of the story and just the game in general, with some of them being super serious and some others being silly but still super good.
Drop the weapon!
She's the one who experimented on us! I remember that tattoo! Damn bitch!
It's an electroacoustic transducer that can...
A lot of these side missions had me more locked in than some of the highlights of the story mode. Even though there's only a handful of side missions in this game, they're all pretty great. Even the racing one, which is just like super bare bones. You race your truck here, you race your truck there. The characters are at least slightly memorable, even though you only see them like twice. And it's the only game out of the franchise that adds any real lore to the challenges. In Dying Light 1 and 2, if you had a parkour or combat challenge, there was no lore behind it. It was kind of archaic, which isn't a bad thing, but it might be one of the only reasons why Dying Light the Beast only has the racing challenges. And it also isn't overly bloated with different decisions you have to make, and the choices you're forced to make in Dying Light the Beast feel more impactful to the story and the side mission, even though that's not like the main selling point like it was in Dying Light 2.
Lying. She did it willingly.
Shelby?
The voice acting and the cutscenes are also massively improved, especially with the side missions, and it makes it extremely difficult to go back to Dying Light 2 and play any of those side missions. I just wish there was a little bit more. Next one we got is the difficulty. Dying Light 2 is known for being a little bit too easy. In the Nightmare mode, that's the only mode I play on in Dying Light 2, is still a tad bit easier than Dying Light the Beast is on hard mode. But Dying Light 2 also has the legend levels and such, but I struggled way more in Dying Light the Beast to fight the human enemies, not for any unfair reason, but because their block and attack patterns flow together very realistically, like I was fighting AI with actual intelligence. And the knights are significantly darker, and you pair that with the new volatiles that are extremely strong, like extremely overpowered, and on a chase level 1 I was getting chased by like 7 volatiles before hitting chase level 2. And it's a big change if you liked farming volatiles in Dying Light 2. There's no real reason to attack or kill volatiles because they don't drop anything worth it other than a couple $100, and you don't get any extra combat XP, so it's just not worth it. They truly embrace the role of being the apex predator in this game. You either run or die. Number 5 on this list is the ambient soundtrack. Dying Light 2, without a doubt in my mind, has a way better dynamic soundtrack, especially when it comes to parkour, but Dying Light the Beast has a much better ambient soundtrack. When you're just roaming around, running around, looting stores, and like soaking in the atmosphere, the soundtrack that fades in back and forth is so good and adds so much to the game, and it fits the map and the theme and the story so well. Dying Light 2 had its highs and lows, with its highs being extremely high, especially with the soundtrack. It just added so much, but Dying Light the Beast has a much more consistent feel that adds to the overall experience of the game, whether you're just running around free roaming or driving a truck or in a scripted story sequence. Like, spoilers ahead, but like after you capture Aiden and it plays the remake of the Aiden soundtrack from Dying Light 2, it's playing in the background right now. It was just absolute peak. The next one is the weapon and map design. Dying Light 2 had a good map for parkour, but not a very realistic looking map. A very much copy and pasted assets looking map, actually. And a lot of the weapons look like straight out of like a I don't even know, but they look like they're made out of like a bunch of different scrap metal, and even the katana is just like made out of like a piece of metal and like a rebar to keep its structural integrity, which I know what they're going for. Like, the world's been basically ended for like a couple decades, but Dying Light the Beast, they brought back a lot more modern looking weapons, and weapons that don't look like they're just made from a junkyard, and they all look extremely nice, and they look like a lot of the weapons from Dying Light 1. And now the map is a significant upgrade, maybe not mechanically, but by looks and atmosphere. It all looks lived in, and especially the interiors. And the interiors from like on the outside of the city, like in the forest, it doesn't look like they've been like, you know, ran through and searched and destroyed, but basically all the interiors in the city look like they have been rummaged through and picked clean from anything worth anything. And I love that little detail. Like, everything in the city looks lived in and taken from, and sometimes on the outside of the city you can find places where people haven't visited as often. And if you go to Golden Pine, there are so many big houses here that hold a lot of different secrets. So I recommend, if you guys are playing this game, to go check out the interiors and all the buildings in that little neighborhood, because those have so much detail and there's a lot of secrets that you guys can find in those buildings. But in Dying Light 2, just asking for a typical looking fire axe or a machete, you'll never find it, but you will find a table leg and a pistol on a stick. I very much prefer the upgrading cost in Dying Light the Beast over Dying Light 2, because the gimmick currency infected trophies no longer exist, which I actually didn't mind in Dying Light 2, but it did bottleneck a lot of my upgrades, especially early game. I had enough coins, had enough crafting parts, but I did not have enough infected trophies. But since then they kind of upgraded a little bit. You can trade different items for infected trophies, and they made it easier to collect infected trophies. But in Dying Light the Beast, you have to use the items used to craft the material that you're upgrading or the weapon you're upgrading, and I much prefer that instead. And you also have to use manual pages, which is a worthy replacement of the infected trophies. I talked a lot about Dying Light 2's co-op functionality in my past videos. It was absolutely terrible at launch, but Dying Light the Beast I have had almost zero problems with at launch, and it works like a charm. And a huge upgrade that I haven't seen anybody mention is the fact that you can see each other's flashlights when they are turned on. You could see them in Dying Light 1, but in Dying Light 2 you couldn't see when your partner had their flashlight turned on. I mean, it's a small thing, but it's the small things that matter. Even with its occasional bugs, the co-op is still great.
Omning it. I am omning it so good. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Let me break it down for you, Mark. I am omning it. I am omning it so good. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. You need to go, Mark. Go. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Number 9 is the story, a significant upgrade in basically every single way except for length. But sometimes it's the girth that matters. And what's the good of a story's length if most of it is just filler anyway, or stuff that doesn't make sense, or bloated with a lot of useless, unimpactful choices? Dying Light the Beast has executed a very, maybe predictable story, but miles better than Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2, with the biggest upgrade in my opinion being the cutscenes. The cutscenes are beautiful, and they're third person, and they just tickle my brain, and the graphics are so great. The voice acting from basically every character is top notch, and there's hardly any plot holes. The story just feels consistent and it all blends together very well, and there is like basically no filler, and I love it for that. And maybe that's why the game is a lot shorter than Dying Light 2, and I would take this story over Dying Light 2 for its quality over quantity any day. I could probably talk about it for like an hour, and maybe I will in another video. But to get on to the next one, we got the atmosphere. The only time in the Dying Light franchise that the atmosphere has been paralleled is in Dying Light 1. Dying Light 2 itself is an atmosphere-rich game, despite some of the unnatural structures in the game that kind of ruin the feel a little bit. But Dying Light the Beast has an unmatched sense of immersion and real world like building. Like the world looks like it's been lived in, and it looks like it could exist in a real place, and the characters feel real for the most part, especially in comparison to the previous two titles. And the soundtrack and everything that I talked about previous to this builds up the atmosphere, and it's extremely difficult to put in the words how to describe a specific atmosphere, because it's more of a feeling than anything else. But it's mostly just a combination of many different good things that this game has to offer. The fact that it's an open world, and the world building, you can go anywhere and see places that look like they've been lived in, or that people are there, or the environmental storytelling, and the countless spiders wandering the streets of what looked like a community-rich city that used to thrive off of communication between multiple different parties. Like, this place doesn't look like super superficial. It looks like a place that was warm and welcoming before the world ended. Now it's just a husk of buildings and stores that have been ransacked and ran through, and other people's attempts to survive, painting over and overshadowing the warm, community-rich, welcoming city that this place once was before it got painted over with all of the violence and death. Another small thing they added in this game that existed in Dying Light 1 but not Dying Light 2 is that when the sun starts to set, the infected will stop and watch the sunset. Despite you being in the area, or even if you attack them, they will just spend their last moments staring at the sunset. Just the husks of what used to be the community of people that lived here, reminding you of the inevitable. I appreciate all of you guys who have subscribed recently. We've hit 1,000 subscribers since my last video, and if you guys want more uploads like this, or if you guys just want to join the community, drop a subscribe and I will be extremely thankful. We are just starting out. We're going to be more consistent from here on out, and thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the video, and until next time.